He said, I heard my mother's voice saying, someday, Richard, you'll save the nation of Israel. They instituted the biggest airlift since World War I or II. It was in 24 hours. Richard Nixon implemented the biggest lift of tanks and armament and sent them to Israel, and the rest is history. They won, and they're still a nation, and they're still being attacked. I align ourselves with Israel. We align with Israel. We've got to understand the same spirit. I want to read this to you. It won't take but a few minutes. But I want you to know that when I'm reading this, this was a foundation in July. It was actually spoken March the 23rd, 1775. No man thinks more highly than I do of patriotism. See, we've lost that. God is a God of patriotism. He wouldn't even let Israel people marry outside their own nation. As well as abilities, a very worthy gentleman who have just addressed the House. See, they had opponents. They wanted to let the tyranny of other governments overtake this land. And there was proponents saying, leave them alone, it'll be okay. It's never okay when you're dealing with the devil. But different men often see the same subject in different lights, and therefore I hope it will not be thought disrespectful to those gentlemen. If entertaining as I do opinions of a character very opposite to theirs, I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. This is no time for ceremony. This is no time to be playing church. This is a time to have an encounter with the living God. The questioning before the House is one of awful moment of this country. For my own part, I consider it as nothing less than a question of freedom or slavery. And in proportion to the magnitude of the subject ought to be the freedom of debate. It is only in this way that we can hope to arrive at truth and fulfill the great responsibility which we hold to God and our country. Should I keep back my opinions at such a time through fear of giving offense, I should consider myself as guilty of treason towards my country and an act of disloyalty toward the majesty of heaven, which I revere above all earthly kings. My president, it is natural to man to indulge in illusions of hope. See, without the power and presence and the commitment to act, hope will do you no good. We are apt to shut our eyes against the painful truth and listen to the song of the siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this a part of wise men engaged in a great, audacious struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be of the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not the things which so nearly concern their temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst and provide for it and change it. I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience and of Almighty God. I know of no way of judging the future but by the past. And judging the past, I wish to know what there has been in conduct of the British ministry for the last 10 years. I had a woman tell me in Costa Rica that Islam was a religion of peace. You would be surprised how many men and women in America believe that. And it's the same spirit that was driving this deal here. Listen. Justify those hopes with which gentlemen have been pleased to solicit themselves and the house. It is insidious smile with which our petition has been lately received. Trust it not. It will prove a snare to your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition comports with those warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our land. Are fleets and armies necessary to work a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves. These are the implements of war and subjugation, the last arguments to which kings resort. I ask, gentlemen, what means this martial array if its purpose be not to force us to submission? You don't submit, you lose your head. Can gentlemen assign any other possible motive for it? Has Great Britain any enemy in this quarter of the world to call for all this accumulation of navies and armies? No, sir, she has none. They're meant for us. We're called the Great Satan. They can be meant for no other. They're sent over to bind and rivet upon us those chains which British ministry have been so long foregoing. And what have we to oppose them? Shall we try arguments, sir? We have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new to offer upon the subject? Nothing. We have held the subject up in every light of which is capable, but it has been all in vain. Shall we resort to entreaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find which have not been already exhausted? Let us not, beseech you, sir, deceive ourselves. We have done everything that could be done to avert the storm which is now coming. We have petitioned, we've done everything. We have prostrated ourselves before the throne. We have implored its interposition and arrest, the tyrannical, how you say it, hands of the ministry of Parliament. Our petitions have been slighted. Everything we've done has been turned down. It's produced nothing but additional violence and insult. Our supplications have been disregarded. We have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. In vain after these things may we indulge fond hope of peace and reconciliation. There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve our nation, our God-given privileges for which we are now contending, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, in which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. If we don't enter into a spiritual warfare, if we don't get serious as Christians, if we don't come to the Word and stand strong and ask God, just as King David did, to move the hand of God to protect our nation, you will see we're fighting an enemy that's worse than this one, and it's governed by the kingdom of darkness. I repeat it, sir. We must come. We must fight. An appeal to arms and to God of hosts is all that's left to us. They tell us that we're weak. See, the secular world looks at the church as just a bunch of nannies. And I guess that's rightfully so, the way we've been viewed. But I'll tell you what. If God has His way,